How's it going? So today we're going to compare the TST R9 Ultra to the TST R002 Plus. So they're both very similar bikes. They both have 750 watt internally geared rear hub motor that peak at 1500 watts, encased in these sort of mag wheels. Same wheels, except these are yellow, and these are black. This is a TST R002 Plus, and then this one's the R9 Ultra. So let's go over what they have in common. So the same wheels, same tire size. The wheels are 20 inches, tires are 20 by 4. Fat tires, they both have this sort of dual sporty type tread. They're both 7 speeds with Shimano derailleurs and your basic e-bike trigger shifter. I'm pretty sure they're exactly the same in terms of the gears. They share the same display controls with your left-handed thumb throttle. You got the same on the R9 here. So electronics are the same, wheels are the same, tires are the same. They got the same headlights. They both have brake lights with turn signals. Let's see, they both have plastic fenders in the front and the rear. They both have non-adjustable front forks, as you can see here, and it looks like the same rear coil shock in the R9 and the R002. Now there are some pretty key differences. One being this is a dual battery bike, so it's got dual 15 amp hour batteries. There's one here and there's one under the seat back here. So this one has a total of 30 amp hours at 48 volts. This one has one battery, but it is a pretty big battery, so it's 48 volts at 25 amp hours. So I'll put the total watt hours for the R002 right here and the R9 right here. So you can expect a little bit better range out of the R9 than the R002, but not a whole lot. They both have large battery capacities. The next major difference is the R002 has hydraulic brakes on 180 millimeter rotors, and the R9 has mechanical brakes on 180 millimeter rotors. Better brakes on the R002 than the R9. Because you have this battery under the seat here, it does lift the seat up a little bit, a few inches. You know, so you have, this is I think a 33-inch seat height on the R9 compared to a 31-inch seat height on the R002. So this one's going to favor taller riders and this one shorter riders, but they're both comfortable for most people. The R9 came with a rear seat stock in the box. I think that's something you can order for the R002, but it didn't come with it. But it does have this rear rack. You can put like maybe like a top box or something on there. If you can, probably one of those smaller universal top boxes you can fit on here, no problem. So they're both made out of pretty lightweight materials. They're actually not very heavy to pick up at all. And they're pretty robust. They seem like they're made fairly well. The R002 is going to be a little lighter because it only has one battery compared to the 2 batteries, but they're both pretty lightweight. So they do feel like pretty solid and durable even for a guy my size. You can see that rear shock doesn't really go down that much when I sit on it. They do share the same shocks and the same frames almost. They're a little bit different in frames, but basically they're both very, solid, durable bike. All right, so that's going to do it for the walk around and the specs. So let's just get out there and start testing it. All right, so we'll start with the R002 here. This one feels like actually pretty torquey. Acceleration's pretty fun. Both the bikes come locked at 20 miles an hour from the factory, but there's an app where you can get in there and just unlock it to class 3 mode. I've done plenty of videos on that for the TST bike, so you'll be able to find it. I'm not going to do it again here because they're already unlocked. So we'll start by going slightly uphill here. So we hit 27 miles an hour back there on kind of a flat. Now we're going uphill. It's dropped down to 23 miles an hour, 22. It's actually not that bad. We'll actually test a much steeper hill in just a little bit here. All right, now let's see what kind of speed we can get going slightly downhill. The top speed for these is 28 miles an hour. Some people say you can get up to 30, but I think they're pretty much locked at 28 in class 3 mode. And I'm just hitting 28. Let's see if I can maintain that 28 miles an hour out the straight. Yep, no problem. All right, now let's see if we can get the same speed with the R9. So the R9, actually, it doesn't take off quite as fast. I think that's because it's slightly heavier. But I mean, it's still pretty fun. And the R002 has slightly more of a charge, so that might play a role. So let's see how it does going up this hill like the other one did. I think we hit about 26 miles an hour on that straight back there. Now going uphill, it's like 20 miles an hour going up this hill here. So, I mean, it's pretty much the same. If it was fully charged like the other one, it would get 22 miles an hour, no problem. And that probably accounts for the difference in acceleration, too. So, I think as terms of performance, they're both kind of equal. This one's a little more sluggish just because it's heavier, because it has that second battery. At 28 miles an hour, no problem. Let's just make sure it maintains that on this straight here. It did drop to 27. But yeah. So this one is slightly slower, a little bit less acceleration, but pretty much the same. So I'm still on the R9 here, so let's just do the rest of the testing on the R9, and then we'll go back and get the R002. Let's see how fast the pedal assist kicks in when you start pedaling here. So let's see, I got one. There's a lot of wind noise, so I'm having a hard time hearing when that cadence sensor kicks in, so let's try it again. So, oh yeah, it starts immediately. Yeah, that's right, the last time I reviewed it, I could have sworn this was a torque sensor because how fast it kicks in, but yeah, it's not. It's a cadence sensor, but it works very well. Alright, since we're talking about power and stuff like that, we can talk about range a little bit. With the dual 15 amp hour batteries, you're probably looking at a worst case scenario of about, I would say, 40 miles if you're doing throttle only in full power level 5 mode. Of course, if you're in like level 2 and you're using pedal assist, you're going to get way more range than that, probably up to like 60 or 70 miles or something like that. So this is, you know, a pretty good commuter bike. But since it does have full suspension, let's just see how it feels off-road really quick. Now I'm going to test it sitting down. Normally I would stand up doing something like this, but the way these bikes are, they're not very comfortable to stand on off-road. They're made for like comfort and street riding, but since it has full suspension and these off-roady type tires, might as well just test it out really quick. It actually feels pretty comfortable, pretty good. It does have those big 4-inch fat tires. The suspension is pretty stiff, which is a good thing because it's going to work for most people. You know, I'm a heavier guy and it actually feels really good for me. I don't feel anything bottoming out or anything like that. So the suspension is actually pretty good. One of the areas I think that the R9 has the R2 beat is comfort. It has a higher seat height and the handlebars are actually a little bit higher. It does have like just kind of a more comfortable feel to it, you know, in terms of riding. And also the seat is slightly cushier on the R9 than the R002. They're both actually extremely comfortable bikes to ride. So if you see, I don't know if you can tell, but this goes pretty steep downhill. So we'll turn around and come back up and see how it does with this really steep hill. One thing that's really cool about this bikes too is the turning radius. Like you can really turn around on a dime on these things. They're very easy to maneuver. They're very confidence inspiring in terms of their handling. Alright, so I'm doing throttle only level 5 mode going up this steep hill. It's probably going to slow down quite a bit. And again, I'm about 275, 280 pounds right now. And this thing isn't even fully charged, and it's still going 14 miles an hour up this really steep hill. So, you know, it definitely has the torque to go up hills. So if you live in a hilly area, you'll be just fine. Yeah, maintaining it dropped down to 13 at the steepest part there, but still, that's actually pretty darn good. So anyways, back to the comfort thing. Yeah, the seat height and everything makes this bike slightly more comfortable. You have a little bit more leg extension. The seat's very cushy. You got full suspension. You've also got the fat 4-inch tires. So this thing's actually a very comfortable ride. These moped-style e-bikes are actually really fun to ride around your neighborhood. You can't really go wrong with TST as a brand. I highly recommend them. You know, you're going to get a quality bike. The customer service is really good. Anything goes wrong, you know, they're really quick to get parts and stuff like that out there for you. So, you know, you don't have to worry about that being a pain in the butt. Some of the cheaper companies, you know, you don't really have that customer service. So let's get up here and we'll do a quick brake test, and then we'll take the R002 out. Typically I like to get around 20 miles an hour and hit it. I think right after this street right here, I'll hit the brakes here, see how they do, and go. Oh yeah, pretty good. You know, the first time I did the brake test in my last video, they didn't work as well. So I think maybe they've been bedded in a little bit better. So even though these are mechanical brakes, they actually locked up pretty good. I mean, I would prefer hydraulic brakes, but you know, these brakes works just fine, and the mechanical brakes are actually easier to adjust as the pads wear out and stuff like that than hydraulic anyways. But alright, so we'll go out and finish the testing on the R002 now. By the way, like I said, they both have the same displays, and they're actually pretty simple. You just have your pedal assist, miles per hour, and your trip. There's a little info thing. What's it do? Odometer, trip, that's it. And then you have your up and down arrows for your power modes, double click for your turn signals here, then you have your light throttle there. So the dashboard's pretty straightforward and simple. All right, so we'll start off with the pedal assist cadence sensor thing again. So let's see how many turns it takes. This one takes about 1.5 to 2 turns. So it's not as good as the R9. The R9 picks up right away. This one's about, a turn and a half, which, which is average. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I do notice, I mean, we're not to the brake test yet, but this one has noticeably more bite in the brakes. So even though this one has a slightly less battery capacity, this one has 25 amp hours compared to the R9's 30 amp hours. You're still going to get, very good range on this. It's still considered a high range bike because it has that large battery capacity. So you could probably easily get like 35 miles out of it, in full power mode, and then again, 60, 70 or something like that in the lower pedal assist modes. Yeah, but like this is also a very good commuter bike. It has the same suspension setup, so it should feel pretty similar off-road. It does feel slightly more torquey, getting up and down these little hills right here, but it's pretty much the same. And it actually does feel, I would say the R9 feels a little bit more comfortable because it has a cushier seat than this one, but this one actually feels pretty comfortable off-road as well. So like I mentioned with the R9 is more comfortable than this bike, but this bike actually is very comfortable, just not as comfortable as R9 because the seat height isn't as tall, so you don't have as good of an extension with your legs. The handlebars are a little lower, so you feel just slightly more squished. Maybe squished isn't really the right word. You don't really feel squished. It's just noticeably more comfortable. And I think there's a little slightly more cushion in the R9 seat compared to this R002. And so we'll test the same hill as we did on the other one. I think it was 14 miles an hour as low as this one got. So again, this is actually a very steep hill. And right now it's hitting 17 miles an hour. The steepest area is still up ahead, 16, 15. Yeah, so 15 miles an hour at the steepest part. So very similar. I think the R9 had 14, the R002 Plus 16 or 15. I'm sorry, at the steepest level right there. So they're both good for hills. They're torquey enough to get you up a pretty steep hill, even if you're a bigger guy or girl. They're both extremely easy to maneuver and throw around. They're really fun to ride. I can feel the difference in the brakes. The hydraulic brakes definitely have more bite. But we'll go up here and do a quick little brake test. And even though you're only going 28 miles an hour on bikes like this, it feels like I'm hauling butt, man. It feels like I'm going a lot faster than I am. These things are actually really fun to ride. And we'll hit the brakes. Let's get down to about 20 miles an hour, then we'll hit the brakes up here at these mailboxes here. So let's see. And oh yeah, much more powerful than the mechanical brakes. Yeah, you can really feel it just when you're pulling, and they have so much more bite. So the brakes are a lot better on the R002 than the R9. I want to say though, because if you look at the website, it looks like maybe the R9s do come with hydraulic brakes now. I'm not 100% sure, but the way they sent it to me was with mechanical brakes, and so that's how I'm going to review it. All right, just to kind of sum things up here. So as far as like performance, they're equal. I mean, safety, they both have headlights, turn signals, all that kind of stuff. I would say the one place where the R002 takes the R9 is definitely in the brakes. This has far superior brakes in that one. Although these are good, they can lock up the tire, they're going to work just fine. They're not dangerous. Now the R9 has a higher battery capacity. So if you're getting 5 more amp hours out of the R9 than the R002 Plus, again, it's a pretty close, slightly more range. So the R9 is going to take the win on the range and also in comfort. The higher seat height for me and the higher handlebars, you can see there's a slightly higher, makes this much more of a comfortable ride than the R002, although it's very comfortable. They're both very comfortable. This one just happens to be more comfortable. And you can see it has, kind of a more cushier seat too. There's going to be a link for both of them in the description with discount codes for both. I'll put the price right here for at the time of filming here. Could be different by the time you watch this video, I don't know. But thanks for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.